Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Ask an Autism Mom Live. I'm Jen Eggert of LAKIKID.com, and you can join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern to share your tips and insights, meet other parents, and learn tips and tricks from us and other professionals we bring on the show. On today's show, I will be talking with Jenny Friedman, who is a licensed dietitian. I want to welcome those of you watching live on Facebook and also listening to our podcast or on YouTube. To get alerts to ask questions live, type the number 5 in the comments section below. And if you're on YouTube, simply hit subscribe and then click the bell so that you will be subscribed to notifications of when we go live. So welcome, everyone. Good morning, Jason. Crystal, good morning. So welcome, everyone. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Ask an Autism Mom Show. And today we're sitting down with Jenny Friedman, who is a licensed dietitian, and we will be discussing all things nutrition. I can't wait to dig into today's topic with you. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor. Our sponsor is LAKIKID.com, where you can get quality sensory products for reasonable prices. Now, I want to show you our newest product. Many of you have heard me start talking about it. It's our writable weighted lap pad. You literally use a water pen and you draw on it and it shows the color. Now, we have a website dedicated for this, a link. It is called lakikid.com/writable. You can go there for your chance to win your own when they come out on Kickstarter soon. So good morning, Dina. I know you are so excited. You've missed months worth of shows live. And we're sad that you're sick, but we're happy you're here. I know, Dina, you are one that is really looking forward to today. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Jessica. Welcome back. Happy you made it today. Heather, good afternoon. Tabitha, welcome. So, Jenny Friedman is actually a registered dietitian, who works with families of children with autism to resolve feeding challenges and optimize diet. She is a pediatric feeding and family nutrition expert. She specializes in picky eating and creating a positive, nourishing relationship with food. She publishes weekly articles on her website, jennyfriedmannutrition.com, and has been featured in several major media outlets. When she's not working, you can likely find Jenny making a mess in the kitchen. Now, welcome, everyone. I know a lot of you are concerned about your child's nutrition. Are they eating enough? Are they eating the right foods? Are they getting what they need from a proper diet? So, Jenny, my first question is, why is nutrition so important?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And that's a big question and an important question. So proper nutrition is really important for absolutely everyone, but it's extra important for somebody, and especially children who have special health needs or anything out of the ordinary going on. So we know that children on the spectrum are more likely than their non-autism peers to be at a greater risk for selective eating, nutrient deficiencies, things like belly issues, and just poor nutrient intake. So that makes the nutrition that they're getting extra important. They might need more of certain things. And moreover, not getting the right nutrition might be extra risky. Getting the right nutrition might mean better behavior, better attention, better growth. Anything that can help a child thrive, is worth it. And nutrition is a big thing that can contribute that.
Now, how can I like I was telling Jenny before the show, I have a child that spent 2 years drinking pretty much only chocolate milk and not really eating. When I have a child like that, how can I get them to eat more food?
That's a great question, and that is the number one question that I get from parents. It's very common for children with autism to have severely limited diets. So there are a couple of things that you can do, and every child will respond differently and, has different needs. So it's best to address, check out your child, know what works best, and kind of go from there. Beyond that, kind of the biggest thing that you should focus on is really just making very small changes at a time. It's unlikely for a child who only drinks chocolate milk, for example, to be like, sure, okay, I'd love to eat some broccoli. Why not? You know, like, why didn't I think of this before? But if you can make gradual changes or gradually introduce a new food, that's increases the likelihood of a child to eat that food. It's also great to have more exposures to food. So the first time somebody, a young kid meets broccoli, it's weird. They might not want to eat it. But after they've met it for, a dozen or more times, and they've gotten to play with it or smell it and gotten to encounter that food in different environments, in different forms, it's more likely that they will be inclined to eat it. So make small changes is the big one. Try to, find foods that seem similar to foods that your child likes. So chocolate milk, maybe you try strawberry milk, and eventually you lead up to eating strawberries, and then trying to offer multiple exposures to a new food so a child can get used to it and get to know that food. Make friends.
We actually learned a funny way with Riley through her play therapist, the lick, kiss, taste.
I love that. Yes, that's huge. That's great. Yeah.
If you want to explain that a little bit to people, maybe.
Definitely. Yeah. So some kids, it's a lot, have a lot of sensory issues with meeting a new food. And so when you're starting to, it can be sensory, but it can also just be fear of something new. And it's that getting to know. So when you're licking a food, or even just starting to touch it on your fingers and gradually moving up the arm, that's a great way to desensitize the body and to become familiar with the food and to teach the body what to expect. So if you start with just touching, you start with just kissing, those are safer ways to get to know the food. If you lick the food, that's a big deal. That's a big step. It's very intimate, but you're not yet eating it, so it's not scary, and you'll work up to that. And after you lick it, you'll kiss it first, you lick it, you touch it. Eventually you can taste it. Sometimes it's putting it in the mouth first. Sometimes it's, then eventually getting to chew it and swallow it. So that's a great way to make those baby gradual steps. It's great.
Now, are there sneaky ways to get them to eat more healthy? I know Jason just said that his wife is actually making blended soups to sneak in nutrition. I have actually, and I am not ashamed to say, I have used baby food and put it in my spaghetti sauce and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are there sneaky ways to help them with that nutrition and getting healthy food?
Yeah, you said it. Those are exactly what you want to do. And any way that you can kind of coordinate, incorporate more nutritious foods. Usually we're thinking fruits and vegetables, sometimes protein, into a food that your child is currently eating. That's a great way to boost nutrition. I'm all for that. The thing that you have to be careful with, though, is kind of using that word sneak, or actually sneaking the food and hiding it. Because what you don't want to have happen is have your child not know that and suddenly realize, oh my God, mom's been putting carrots in here. I can't believe it, and then they're not going to trust anything that you tell them or that you serve them. And it could actually lead to more picky eating. So I totally believe in boosting the nutrition. If you want to add, incorporate foods and make it more nutritious, I think that's great. And that's something I think that every person and every child can benefit from doing. Your ultimate goal with getting more nutrition into a child is to help them learn to eat those foods and to get on board with it. We don't want to, if you're just sneaking those foods, then you're never expanding the diet really and teaching a child how to eat and how to, encounter new foods. And that's part of it. Eating is about nutrition, but it's also about the social experience and the enjoyment. So there's a lot going on there, but those ways that you mentioned are great ways.
Well, and everyone, I want you to remember, dinner time is a highly, highly sensory experience for your child. There are sights, there are sounds, there are smells. Everyone's around the table. It's loud. Their mom may have tried to make something new and it smells different. So it's very sensory. So we need to keep our sensory needs in mind when we're doing food, because remember, if their sensory needs are met, they're more likely, Jenny, and you can probably attest to this, if their sensory needs are met, they're more likely to try things.
Of course. Yes, definitely. Yes. Eating, being at the table is a social and experience with a lot going on, but eating as well is a very sensory, overloaded experience. So you're totally right that the meal should be, as much as it can, encouraging a comfortable and calming environment. That's why I love like the weighted lap pad, and I love that you can collar on it. That's such a great way to keep a child calm. Other things could be, like the heavy headphones to muffle some sounds. You might want to play with the lighting or special music. And also being kind of aware of the foods that you're serving or cooking. Maybe the child shouldn't be anywhere near the kitchen, or serving foods that aren't crunchy and loud, or using, not metal cutlery. There we go. I have some great bamboo cutlery here that I love, and they're nice and quiet. So these are fun. They make them in kid sizes. And these are great. They're not too loud, the way metal is. So anything that you can do to lower the sensory experience and make eating more fun and more comfortable is exactly, the child will be more likely to eat and try something new.
And I think when they see that fun way of eating, like the bamboo fork you just showed, it's different looking than a normal fork.
Yeah, it's fun. It's special.
I remember we were given chopsticks one year.
Yeah,
chopsticks. Yes, and Riley was so amazed by these chopsticks. We said, well, you can use the chopsticks, but you need to try one bite of vegetables. Now, those who have been watching my show for a while know that my daughter and vegetables do not mix. She has actually told our dogs. Oh. My dog was licking my soup bowl once, and I'm gluten-free, so I make vegetable soup a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And my dog was licking the empty bowl, and she goes, you can't eat that. Vegetables are very bad for you.
Oh, man.
7-year-old high-functioning autistic, she gave a 25-minute lecture to the dog on why vegetables are bad. But when we gave her those chopsticks and told her she could only have, I think it was one piece of corn.
Mm-hmm.
But she could use her chopsticks to do it. She was more willing to try because it was fun.
Definitely.
Actually, I think went back for about 4 pieces of corn because she thought it was really neat to try and figure out how to use the chopsticks.
Yeah, so it's a great way to get kids to try new foods, is think about any way that it can be fun. I'm a really big fan of playing with food outside of meal times. Mashed potato volcanoes, or using, potatoes as stamps, making necklaces. There's so many different ways. And when food is fun, that's working on the desensitization and working on all of those ways, you're getting to know food, but you're also kind of providing a low pressure opportunity where it's like, maybe I'll try this. This is like a really, this is a fun experience. So anything that you can do.
Well, actually, the first time we tried the lick kiss,
mm-hmm.
the touch lick kiss taste test was she hated sticky foods.
Yeah.
So her therapist had brought big marshmallows, medium marshmallows, and little, and toothpicks. And we made a snowman. And we used edible markers, and she drew it on the face. And she actually kissed the snowman because it was so funny to her.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's perfect. That's a great example.
Now, what about smoothies? I hear a lot of people saying smoothies are the way to go. You can sneak in or hide kale. You can hide spinach, the more common green leafy foods that so many people know are important in your diet. How are smoothies? Like, are they good options for us?
Yeah, so I think yes, if smoothies are a thing that your child will eat, go for it, because that is such a great way where you can incorporate, like you said, greens, protein, fiber, color, new flavors. And so in that way, they're really excellent. And it's, again, that kind of like sneaking food thing where you do want to be a little bit open. But if your child is willing to eat a smoothie that's got some hidden greens in there, or maybe a green monster smoothie, or, and something fun, like you said, the more fun we make it, I think that's awesome. Again, the goal is to be able to eventually, hopefully, be able to eat those foods on their own. So a smoothie can be a great way to introduce some of those new flavors. You're adding maybe blueberries in, and that's a good way to start to, learn to like the flavor of blueberry. A great thing too about smoothies is you can kind of adjust the ratios as you go. You add something new, just a very little bit, but over time you can increase the amount so your child becomes more accustomed to that flavor and eventually might be eating something totally new. Again, like the chocolate milk example, that could be something you could incorporate with a smoothie, just slowly reducing the amount of chocolate flavor in there, or adding, something else in with it. So smoothies can be definitely a great tool. But you mentioned soups earlier as well. Any of those kind of pureed foods can be a great way to incorporate something new, or even use that as a vehicle to introduce something new. Maybe there's, a little piece of corn in that smoothie. Yeah, smoothie would be a little bit weird, but in that soup, or, a new fruit in the smoothie, and you introduce that at the same time to kind of mask the flavor and help make it a little bit more comfortable. So definitely a role for smoothies.
Now, how do I introduce new textures? I mean, we know a lot of our kids are very sensory based. Textures are fun. Challenge.
Yes, it's a fun challenge. It's kind of a lot of the same, to sound like a broken record, but you're talking about the touch, kiss, lick. That's a great way to get to know some new textures. Again, with those gradual changes, if your child likes something smooth and creamy like a soup or a yogurt, slowly add texture in there. Start very small, and after your child accepts a new addition, a couple of times without a protest, without gagging, without something like that, then you slowly increase the amount of texture. So it's just gradual changes, but also those experiences where you can, touch and get to know the new texture is really helpful.
Now, what is normal and not normal when we're talking about diet and nutrition?
Well, kind of the short answer is that there is no normal. But there are definitely signs where you can see that maybe development isn't normal or isn't progressing the way it should be or as quickly as it should be. So we were discussing beforehand that if you have a child who's pocketing or who seems to have trouble chewing food and swallowing the food, or can only seem to tolerate certain textures, or maybe they're really gagging or vomiting, that's when you want to go see a doctor, an occupational therapist, get a swallow or a speech evaluation. That's really important. Those would be signs of something that's not normal. In terms of picky eating, over 50% of parents claim to have a picky eater, or, they probably do have a picky eater, but it's a pretty high number of people who seem to think that they have a picky child. The number's higher with autism. It can be up to over 80% or so, but parents typically want to call this picky, but there's actually a different term that is usually more appropriate, and that is problem feeding. And if your child's consuming like under 20 foods, really it limits foods by food group or food texture, has difficulty, dealing with new foods, won't tolerate a new food on a plate, maybe isn't eating the family meal, or prefers to eat alone, frequently drops foods from their diet without ever reintroducing them. So somebody loves chocolate milk and then one day decides never, I'm done, never reintroduces chocolate milk. Those are signs of something a little more extreme and put a child at risk for those deficiencies or inadequate nutrition, maybe poor growth or poor digestion. So that's really when you, that's atypical. And that's when you might want to encounter, or reach out to somebody for some help and a second opinion.
Now, just to let you know, pocketing, Jenny, if you want to give a 2-second explanation on what pocketing is, many probably don't know what that means.
Yeah, of course. So, pocketing would really just be instead of, you take the food in and you chew it and you swallow it, you're kind of keeping the food like a chipmunk, in a little corner of your mouth and holding on to that. That's what you experienced?
Yes, Riley was pocketing. We did the swallow study and we found out she was pocketing it, and then it would be too much eventually and it would trickle and choke her.
Yes. And that's exactly a situation where you need to seek out help of somebody who can work with you. Maybe it's oral motor skills or a fear of a texture, and that's important to get help on.
Now, I know, Jenny, you're very passionate about nutrition, about healthy eating. Do you offer private coaching?
I do, yes. So my primary work is to work one-on-one with families. And so I offer a coaching package where we can go through a lot of these issues, and we'll see what is what your primary concerns and goals are, and we'll work on behavior strategies to introduce new foods, create a special diet plan so you're sure that your child is getting all of the nutrients that he or she needs to grow and to thrive. And yeah, those are the big ones. So definitely, you posted my information, my website up above, but you can find me at Jenny Friedman Nutrition, and that's where we can continue that conversation.
Now, we have a lot of questions for you today, Jenny.
Great.
This seems to be one of our most popular topics, and I'm so excited that I got to talk with you about it because I'm just a mom. You have so much more experience, and it is so different. Now,
not just a mom, but I'll take it.
Now, we have Crystal who says she's so excited because her son is picky. He literally eats mainly pizza and chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
So, Crystal, like Jenny said, try starting slowly with that introduction of new foods. I find that I have to put a new food on her plate at least 4 to 10 times before she'll actually even consider looking at it.
Definitely. And the chicken nuggets is, that's typical autism. That's definitely like, I've seen that as one of the universal signs of autism. And a good way to start with the chicken nuggets could be just to introduce different brands, or maybe if there's a dip that your son really likes, you can use that dip to introduce new foods as well.
Now we have Angela. Angela and I are very good friends, and her son is Pediasure and hot dogs.
Yeah.
He was on 3 Pediasure a day, and we finally got him cut down because I'm like, wait a minute, he's drinking so much Pediasure. I think he's 4 or 5, that one. She has many children. But he was drinking so much Pediasure, and that's what people need to understand, that if your child does take Pediasure to offset it, if they have too much, they're going to be full. They're not going to want to eat it. Angela had to back off of the Pediasure to get him to actually try and eat normal food. I understand, Crystal, that there are meltdowns when introducing new foods. I always do something kind of different. I read it in a book when I was a kid, and I thought it was kind of interesting. The mom would present the dinner to the dad, and she would put on the table a small dish of the new food and say, "I'm sorry, this is only for daddy." And dad would eat it. And that's how she presented it. And the kids were all going, wait a minute, daddy gets this new special food? So there was excitement that would build up. So if you try something like that, introduce it and be like, oh no, that's for mom only. Don't say because you won't like it, because then they'll put that in their head. Mm-hmm. But build excitement on the new food and then eventually give it to them and let them try it. And yes, Crystal, I find as Riley grows, she does change her nutritional needs and what she's willing to try. 3 years ago, if you would have told my daughter that she had to eat something that had more than one food in it, like mixed foods, even something as silly as hamburger helper, or her pasta had to have just butter. If you told her she was going to eat something mixed, she would flip out on you. Now she loves casseroles. Mac and cheese casserole was how we started because she loved cheese so much.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what you should do. Find something that they like and use that to introduce new foods.
Well, actually, it was an idea I got from my sister. We did the mac and cheese, and then one day my sister's like, throw some meat in there. So I had so I chopped up ham and threw it in the cast, and it worked.
Yeah, that's great.
Jason says that his wife makes blended soup with various vegetables to help with nutrition. Like I said, I will admit I use blended vegetables whenever I can because Riley will give us a huge lecture on how vegetables will hurt her. Patricia, that's a really challenging issue. Her issue is, what do you do when they change what they won't eat every 3 months? Jenny, do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, definitely. So Patricia, keep offering that food. I know that's really frustrating as a parent, and I can remember that happening growing up too, that my mom would buy all this food and because she knew she was like, everybody wanted to eat it, and then everybody changed, and you feel like you're wasting it. I'm like, what, you just can't stay on top of it. So I know that's frustrating. The thing is, just keep offering it. And maybe change up how you're offering it. If you're offering, the same piece of pizza every single day, it's kind of conditioning the child to only like that kind of pizza and only get used to that. Even just changing up the shape that you're offering it, putting it on a different plate, adding a different sauce or a different kind of cheese on top. That's a good way to kind of keep the flavor, to keep the kid on their toes. And so they're not getting so dependent and used to something and that they're suddenly going to drop it. If they do drop it, just keep offering it, even just in very little bits. Because, if you don't give them the opportunity, if they don't get the opportunity to try something or to have it on their plate, they're never going to think to eat it again on their own.
Now we have Chrissy, who says that her little guy is 4 and will only eat chicken nugget or chicken and pizza, but he does like baby food. Jenny, would you allow the child to keep eating baby food because of the nutritional content, or would you push?
I would do both. I would push and allow. So you definitely always want to include and offer your child food that he or she will eat. That's very important. But you can use the baby food, as we talked about before, to incorporate some new flavors and some new foods. What if you slowly started changing the texture? You have the pureed carrot baby food. What if there's a little bit of real carrot pieces in there, full pieces? So definitely use that food and make small changes to that food, or to incorporate new flavors, new textures, or use that food as a vehicle for introducing something new. So there's suddenly a pea on top of, a bite of the baby food. And just, continue make those small changes, but keep it up. Yeah, that's fine.
Now, Jessica, I'm right there with you. Trying new foods by using different dipping sauce. For us, you, we had to have ranch with everything.
Definitely.
But it opens them up. It gives them that chance to try something.
Exactly. It's a great way. That's kind of that vehicle. And that's within the range of, we talked about normal and not normal. Using a dip or a dressing, that's within the range of normal eating behavior. That's something that most people do. And so if it seems like you need a lot of ranch dressing at first, that's okay. Use that so that they're getting to know that food and getting comfortable eating it. As they build up their preference and their palate for that new food, you can slowly decrease the amount of dip that they need to eat it with.
Chrissy says that her son smells all his food. Chrissy, we smell everything too. It seems to be a sensory thing, but once she smells it and feels comfortable with it, she's okay. Let me keep going. Chrissy, I'm the same way. Riley will eat fruit. She loves most fruit. But I think it's because it's sweet, where vegetables are more...
Vegetables are a little bit more bitter, and they might have a weirder texture, definitely. So fruit offers really the same nutrients as vegetables. So I would definitely encourage fruit. Fruit, like, for some reason, gets a really bad reputation. Everybody's worried about the sugar or whatever. Fruit is great. If your child eats it and has an otherwise limited diet, I would encourage fruit. Again, fruit can maybe, in those smoothies or something, mix fruit and vegetable as a way to introduce those new flavors.
Thank you. That actually made me feel better, because you won't touch vegetables, but you'll bring her to the grocery store and you'll say, what kind of fruit do you want? And she'll go nuts picking, I want apples, I want pears, I want bananas, I want oranges, okay.
Yeah, as many colors, more color, the better. And no matter what, fruit or vegetable, the same colors have the same nutrients.
Angela, I love Angela. She, like you were showing your bamboo utensils, she uses construction utensils.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fun. Yes, that is great.
I've also seen recently, I'm not 100% sure about how I feel about them. We've considered using them for Riley, but they're called winter dinner plates. It's
trail.
Jenny, do you know what they are?
I'm thinking it's the trail that leads you, kind of start to, you start here. If you eat your way through, you get the end.
Yes, and at the end, it's like a little maze, and at the end of the maze, there's a covered box.
Mm-hmm.
And you hide something in there that's their reward. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because Riley will find a way to manipulate that.
Yes. So know your child. You said that earlier. That's important. Yeah.
So really, see, they're great for some kids. I know some kids who excelled doing that. Now they don't need the prize at the end.
Exactly. Positive reinforcement is really excellent. So also something you can use all the time. Your child tries something new. You say, Riley, I love that you tried that broccoli. That was great. You did a great job eating that. You did a great job not throwing your food on the floor. Whatever it is, reinforce that positive behavior that you want to see. Anything else, please ignore it. And those incentives for accomplishing good behavior, like the winner at the end of the plate, that's fine. And they make a lot of other really fun plates too. I did print, it's not in colors, you can't see, but this is one of the plates I really like for separating the food so it's not touching. There are a ton out there. A lot of other plates too that can use some reinforcement strategies. I have some linked on my website on the resources page where you can find some good utensils and plates and lunch boxes and things like that.
Now, Angela has a long statement. Let me read through this. We went through a stage where my 8-year-old wasn't thriving and was actually losing weight. He's not a picky eater at all. So we just let him eat whenever he wanted. Now we have the opposite issue. He is gaining weight at a high rate and is looking to reach childhood obesity. He eats healthy snacks and drinks plenty of water. Any suggestions to reset his eating times to a healthier regularity without causing meltdowns?
Well, I don't know that I can help you on the meltdown part because that is a frequent reaction to change and to eating in particular. But kids do really thrive on an eating schedule where you can have 3 meals and 1 to 3 snacks a day. And you keep that pretty consistent, and that's when eating happens. So there's no, drinking milk, having a sippy cup, having Pediasure between meals. Meals are the times for eating. You might get a meltdown when you introduce this. So you might want to go slowly. Your kid, maybe they really work well with a visual schedule or a visual, a calendar that can help ease them in, let them know what's happening. But I do recommend having a schedule, and that just helps to regulate the appetite, help the child to be hungry for meals instead of just grazing kind of in that state of not hungry, not full all day long.
Folks, we have so many questions and we are running out of time. I'm going to try and get a couple more in here if Jenny doesn't mind. But remember, you can join our parent support group at lakikid.com/group. And maybe Jenny will join after.
I will be there.
The show today will have Jenny join the group and you can ask more questions in there. And remember, she always has her own website. If you have specific questions, go to her website and work with her there. She is amazing. Rebecca, your issue, I think would be better handled one-on-one because you are clean eating diet that's dairy and gluten-free, which is very specific.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind, Rebecca, let's post that in group because I understand dairy and gluten-free is hard. I am gluten-free, as is my team. It is not easy. So
no, it's not easy.
Let's put that
especially if you have a limited diet, then it's one extra bit thing. So, but it's worth it. For some people, it's definitely worth it.
Angela, I know your one lost 3 pounds because of being picky. When Riley was first, we realized something was wrong. She actually lost close to 8 pounds in a month. And
wow.
Nobody listened to me until finally the doctor saw her weight and said, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kids shouldn't be losing weight, except when they're, newborn. That's the exception. You always want a child to be staying on their growth curve and growing.
April, I'm so excited that you got the new idea of the touch, taste, and lick. It is a wonderful, wonderful way of introducing. Now, Dina, I know your questions. You have a couple because you're having some problems. I know, Dina, you're active in groups. So if you could post your questions in group, Dina. Dina is the one that I was referring to earlier, having some pretty complex problems. Low vitamin D levels, sodium, magnesium levels are great, but cholesterol is really bad.
Okay.
She only eats Ritz crackers, nuggets, Top Ramen, and salt and vinegar chips.
Okay.
So if we could help her.
Yeah.
Chris, like Jenny said, vegetables are great for nutrition, but don't knock out fruit. If he'll only eat peas, keep introducing, but don't force it. Let me go. Therapy is great for working on new foods because the therapist actually has the time to sit there and work for that 30 minutes or 1 hour a week. Spinach pancakes for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's fun.
Very interesting.
It can be anytime. That's a good Halloween one too. You get like Frankenstein pancakes, anything to make the food fun. A little bit different, more exciting.
And that's just it, guys. Make it fun. Make it funny. And Jenny, I bet you'll agree. I find my kids are more likely to try it if I have them in the kitchen.
Yes. Oh, I'm all about that. Yes. So those hands-on experiences, like I said, it could be playing with food, but I am all for cooking with your kids, bringing them to the grocery store, the farmer's market, even visiting like a farm or having a garden at home, even in just some small pots. Any way that they are more involved and get to make some decisions and learn more and experience more, they're going to be more likely to eat. Definitely.
Thank you everyone for coming today. This has been a great show. Jessica, we're very happy that you found this show extremely helpful. If the show has helped you, please share it. Tag friends in it that you think it'll help. Remember, let's help other parents. You can share the video on your timeline now. You can tag your friends. If I asked you to join group and comment in group, or if I know you're in group and I asked you to comment, please make those comments in groups after the show.
I will be there today.
Perfect. Jenny will be there. I will make sure I get her added immediately. And I want you to remember, if you go to our landing page, lakikid.com/ask, you can leave questions to ask us live on an upcoming show. And you can check out our writable pad page, lakikid.com/writable. I'm pretty sure that's it. Miguel will correct me if I am wrong. But I know Miguel will put the comments in, or the links in the comments like he always does. Check out our Way to Pad page, folks. If you don't know, there is a giveaway hidden somewhere on that page. Find it. If it asks for the term, the saying used, the saying is my Lackey Kid. Now, remember, we're also on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play for those of you who are wanting to listen to the replay. Join our group, watch, check out Jenny's website. Join us. We cannot wait to discuss more with you later today. Thank you all for watching. Just let me make sure I got everything I've got to say, because today was a big one. I want to thank you all for coming. Join our group. You can join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern for more tips and tricks and to share your insights. And as we've learned lately, we have had more professionals on our show, so you can learn from people who actually do this and are devoted to certain topics. I have a lot of great interviews coming up, and I can't wait to share them with you. So thank you for coming. And remember, until next time, every child brings good luck.